Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and even though I've been so busy with this move and don't have that much time, there have been things going on with this apparent Nintendo Direct that is reportedly happening at the end of this week, and we might just have some more interesting leaks to discuss when it comes to this presentation, like a surprising amount. We have just gotten a little bit more information that could be helping us to solve this puzzle that has to do with the 3 sevens of the Nintendo Direct as teased by Switchforce. We might just know the full combination now. But going beyond that, it looks like there's a story that a lot of people have missed that's giving us some more insight into not only a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster for Mario's 40th anniversary, but another big Nintendo title, that being Animal Crossing. And then going beyond that, this information has been going down a path that reminds me of something that happened a couple years back about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and now looking at what we know now, the pieces are aligning here, and it could mean some massive things in regards to Metroid Prime 4 that we might finally see get revealed in this upcoming Nintendo Direct. So I would say we have some exciting stuff to talk about today. But before doing so, let me tell you about this game, Hero Wars, the sponsor for today's video. Hero Wars is a free-to-play fantasy MMO RPG. You gather different heroes into a squad and set out on an epic adventure fighting different hordes of enemies. You collect equipment and rewards as you progress, so you can continually improve the abilities of your heroes while also seeking out others to expand on your roster and options. I got a kick out of continually leveling up my special attacks and noting the growing effectiveness. During the main campaign, you have control over when to activate the special moves for your different heroes, but I also enjoyed setting up my team as best as I can and sending them out to the arena and just sitting back and watching how they might perform. Speaking on the variety of all the characters in Hero Wars, I found myself quite surprised just to see how extensive and varied the roster actually is. There are so many options to choose from, so as you progress, you're going to run into different types of characters with various abilities and stat ranges, and you may even run into some that are actually rather familiar. And so you're probably going to want to click the link in the description below through your desktop with my code RESTARTHERO25 to obtain an additional 200 energy, 150,000 gold, 400 emeralds, and 25 Ginger Soul Stones, so you can really hit the ground running here and have a great advantage in building the ultimate band of heroes so you can compete and win in Hero Wars, all by clicking the link in the description below on PC. Okay, so first let's get into this whole 777 thing. As we talked about yesterday, Switchforce has been teasing that this Nintendo Direct will have 3 sevens, 3 games relating to a 7 he talked about in this video. For those that don't know, Switchforce, at least as of late, has been proving to be quite reliable in terms of timing of different Nintendo presentations, like the recent Partner Showcase, the Indie World Showcase, and he was the first to talk about this Direct happening on the 12th, and several different sources have corroborated that information. We've covered this already. We've even talked about the 3 sevens, but he has given a little bit more insight into what these 3 sevens will be. He said that yes, this list here that Necrofelipe has pointed out, while it's not correct, that doesn't mean that some names on this list wouldn't be part of the 3 sevens. He has also clarified on the whole soul thing, where he says not a soul has guessed the correct combination yet. Here he says that no, soul is not a hint in any way. That was just a figure of speech. So it's not Soul Calibur 7, it's not having to do with a game that has souls in it necessarily. But there's something else that has popped up that seems to be giving us a good understanding of what one of the sevens is going to be. So Attack the Backlog last night posted this on Twitter. Capcom definitely showing a horror, you all know which. Wink emoji. And for those that don't know, Attack the Backlog, as of late, has also had a source that has been providing some good information, teasing the exact date for the Partner Showcase, teasing one of the big reveals from the Partner Showcase, that being the Adventures of Elliot. And here Attack the Backlog is teasing a horror game he's heard will be in the presentation. But then Nash Weedle, who's been doing a lot of podcasts with Attack the Backlog lately, quote tweeted Attack the Backlog and said, "All I can say is that if you get this, stay away," with another wink emoji. And for those that don't know the reference, I didn't at first, I had to look this up, but apparently this is a big important line from Resident Evil 7. As you see here on this Resident Evil fan wiki page, Mia says, "Ethan, you were right. I did lie to you. I shouldn't have, but all I can say is that if you get this, stay away." This is apparently a big line from the game, and so Nashweedle, and also by extension Attack the Backlog, are teasing Resident Evil 7 for this Nintendo Direct. Now technically, Resident Evil 7 is already available for Nintendo Switch 1, but it's just a cloud version. And Capcom actually released a variety of Resident Evil games, cloud related and such, on Switch 1. I believe what's being hinted at here is that they would be making a native version of Resident Evil 7, and perhaps this could be a build-up or a lead-up to eventually Resident Evil Requiem, which is also rumored to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. So maybe they'll give us Resident Evil 7, then Village, that being 8, and then eventually we get Resident Evil 9. Probably won't come out at the same time as the other platforms, I assume, although you never know for sure. And so maybe there's a build-up here, and it's exciting to think about this because we've seen lately that the devs are actually putting together solid ports of some pretty ambitious third-party games. We continue to hear more and see more of Star Wars Outlaws, and it's looking fairly impressive, and they are improving upon it with a most recent update, and there may be more. We've heard rumors that there could be updates to DLSS on Switch 2, and of course devs are going to continually get better and better with the hardware as they learn more about the ins and outs. And the overall growing sentiment right now is that we've seen some big third-party games for Switch 2, but some of the early playable builds, perhaps the performance wasn't too great, but once they get close to release or come out, the performance is a lot better. We're seeing updated builds of Elden Ring where it's running better. Not perfect, but it's improving. Or Final Fantasy VII Remake, how a lot of people are saying it's perhaps one of the most impressive games they've seen on the console. And so thinking about Resident Evil, the mainline Resident Evil games making it over to Switch 2 natively, it's exciting to think about. And so this could be one of the 3 7s. We assume Final Fantasy VII Remake is another one because we pretty much know that it's going to be in this next Nintendo Direct because we don't have a release date yet. It's clearly a big third-party game coming to Switch 2, so that's likely another one. It's possible it's maybe Black Ops 7. Another possibility that I didn't bring up is it could be the next 007 game that's coming out, so that makes sense. That's likely going to show up in the Direct as well. And in case you missed it from yesterday, Switch4 said that Ace Attorney 7 is not one of the 3 7s that you heard about for this Direct. So maybe the 3 7s are Final Fantasy 7, this 007 game, and Resident Evil 7. And Black Ops 7, while I would love to see that, we have heard reports that it's not going to be available at launch for Switch 2. So maybe it's not even going to be in this Nintendo Direct. Now, some people might counter this by saying that Switch4 was only hinting at games we haven't heard about yet. But I haven't seen any clarification on that, and I'm going to assume that it could be any. And us getting a release date for Final Fantasy VII with an updated look at the game, an updated look at 007 for Switch 2, and an announcement of a native version of Resident Evil 7, those are substantial announcements. So maybe those are the 3 7s, we shall see. But we have more to get to today. So a lot of this is coming from Special Nick of the Xbox Era podcast. For those that don't know, he is someone who has been known to hear things, correct things, like actually having some connection to inside information. And just to sort of show proof of that, here's Special Nick on January 16th, before we knew all the information on Switch 2, had said, "So if the person who told me June release is all but confirmed to be correct, then that could mean the pricing they gave me of $449/$499 USD might also be correct. Think the $50 extra is a Mario Kart bundle. So keep in mind, back on January 16th, we did not know about the bundle. We did not know about the pricing or Mario Kart World being included in there." And here Special Nick from his source told us those details, something we didn't learn until April. And I remember having conversations about this way back in January, thinking that this seemed a little unlikely. Now seeing exactly how they handled it, it's more clear why they went in this direction, but back then, it didn't seem necessarily super believable. But Special Nick, from what he had heard, totally 100% spot on. And so I bring this up just to highlight the level of credibility of Special Nick, because I noticed something that Special Nick talked about a few days ago. So here, on August 26th, Special Nick said, as well as the Super Mario Galaxy 2 remaster/port, I've heard that with the next Animal Crossing, they are tinkering with QR code support via the Nintendo app for import-export of designs. And then continuing down this thread, at the Great Canty asked, will Mario Galaxy 2 launch on the OG Switch as well? Special Nick says, no idea. It didn't get details that specific. Might depend on whether they implement mouse controls or whatever for the pointer, no? And so, there's two clear big things to talk about here. Mario Galaxy 2 initially was teased by Nick on Nintendo Prime's own podcast and then had said some things on Twitter afterwards. And he doesn't know if it's necessarily going to be used for Mario's 40th anniversary, but he has talked about how that seems like a likely conclusion. And given that he's only heard about a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster, that at least has myself thinking that if it's going to be its own independent release, it may be a bit more ambitious. Now, what I am going to note here is he also says /port. Port seems to imply perhaps not as ambitious. If this is all legitimate, we will see relatively soon. But many have speculated, myself included, that a remaster for Mario Galaxy 2 could be the big Mario 40th anniversary game. But perhaps the bigger thing, because the Mario Galaxy 2 thing we've known about for a little while already, is this talk of Animal Crossing. This idea that Animal Crossing could have QR code support through the Nintendo app. I assume the Switch app, but not necessarily the Today app, because the Today app is actually about just news, right, and different updates. There is the actual, Switch app where you can, send photos to and send friend invitations and such. This might actually be a great way to exchange information like this. We know Animal Crossing has a lot of building and designing in there, so this could be a great way to really fully push that. And if Special Nick is hearing things here, does that mean that an Animal Crossing announcement could be happening soon? He is not saying it's happening soon. He is not saying it could be in the Nintendo Direct, but he is hearing something about Animal Crossing tying into the Nintendo app, so, I am wondering, does this mean Animal Crossing isn't that far off? I do think Nintendo wants to get out the big hitters pretty soon. Mario Kart is one of the big hitters, but there are others. There's Smash Brothers, there's Animal Crossing, there's 3D Mario, there's 3D Zelda. I would say those five are the big hitters that Nintendo would like to have available on their next generation console as soon as possible. There's more reason to think that Animal Crossing may not be that far off. After all, we look at the Splatoon situation, and we're getting a Splatoon Raiders, right? And Splatoon and Animal Crossing are made by the same Nintendo EPD studio, but Splatoon Raiders is just a spin-off, right? So it's not going to take away as many resources as a Splatoon 4 would. And they did just provide a significant update to Splatoon 3 for Switch 2. So Splatoon 4 is likely very far off, and I would say Animal Crossing, a mainline Animal Crossing, is going to come before Splatoon 4 at this point. Does it mean that we'll see an announcement of Animal Crossing in this upcoming Nintendo Direct? I don't know, but I will say this. I think this upcoming Nintendo Direct does need to have some sort of major announcement. One of those big titles Nintendo likes to have available early on. Do they think they can get away with just a Mario Galaxy 2 remaster and a better look at Metroid Prime 4, Kirby, and Legend ZA? I don't think so. If Nintendo wants to really build up the hype and attention for Switch 2, they're going to need a little bit more to tease for next year. So either our first look at the next 3D Mario, the next 3D Zelda, be it the remake project or a brand new title, or Animal Crossing, I think would do well, or maybe Smash DLC. Point is, I think one of those things should be in the Direct. And if not, they better have something else that is equally as exciting that raises just as much attention in this presentation, which might even be more exciting with something that's completely out of left field, but we'll see. Moving past that, though, there is a whole other wrinkle to this conversation I want to get to. Because Special Nick actually said something on Metroid Prime 4 a couple years back. Let me play the clip from the Xbox Era podcast.
But what they described, or what they said, was they said it looked surprisingly, big or open for a Metroid Prime game. Don't get me wrong, I just played Metroid Prime Remastered. There are some fairly big open areas in Metroid Prime Remastered, but this is This is like big, like huge open areas. It's not open world as far as I'm aware. I don't believe it's open world or anything, but the areas, some of the regions and areas in Metroid Prime 4 are supposed to be like massive, like huge. Like the way they described it, they were like, it almost reminded them of like Halo Infinite. You know how when you look at Halo Infinite and it's like this vast, I mean, Halo Infinite was open world, but when you just looked at Halo Infinite, it was like this big, vast, open area. And like when they saw Metroid Prime 4, they said it almost reminded them of that in how big and vast and opened it looked. But it's not, again, don't take that as me saying it's open world. It's not, I don't think. But what they saw almost reminded them of that in how big and open it looked.
And so from this clip, there were some key phrases that I found very interesting. How from what he heard, the game had some regions that are massive, some regions, not all, that would be big and open, somewhat like Halo Infinite. It almost reminded them of that. And so what I find interesting about this is that we have seen that Special Nick does have good sources. Doesn't mean they always get everything right, doesn't mean everything they heard is always correct. But from what we have seen of Metroid Prime 4 so far, at least at face value, while it does look great, I wouldn't say we've seen anything that reminds us of a Halo Infinite. So maybe the hype was just talking there. But I actually think the reason why Special Nick heard that is because there were things seen about Metroid Prime 4 from his source that have not been shown to the public yet. In conversations we've had with Kiwi Talks and a few different podcasts, friend of the channel, please subscribe to him. He does amazing interviews, including interviews with different Retro Studios developers. So definitely check him out if you are a big Metroid fan or just a fan of some big awesome games. He interviews a lot of developers. But in a few different conversations we've had, he's talked about how he believes that Nintendo's holding back some pretty substantial stuff with Metroid Prime 4. And if you take a look at the key art for Metroid Prime 4, there is a massive desert with several big points of interest off into the distance. And I talk about this a lot, but I notice a lot of other people don't really pay much mind to it. But considering what Special Nick heard a couple years ago about there being some big open areas that almost remind you of Halo Infinite, perhaps the truth has been hidden in plain sight. The big secret of Metroid Prime 4 has been right there. They are showing a vast expanse behind Samus. But we see no gameplay of this. It looks nothing like the beginning area. It looks nothing like the beginning moments of Vuros. And so perhaps we are getting to this point where Nintendo is going to finally show off what Metroid Prime 4 is actually about. We've talked about in prior videos how you look at the situation with Donkey Kong Bonanza, they had not shown that much. It wasn't until we were about a month away that they give us that big Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct to really show us what the game is about, and then all of a sudden, many people's opinions changed on the game once they had a proper understanding of what the game was about, and there was a lot of excitement for Bonanza. I think something very similar is about to happen with Metroid Prime 4. We know it's coming out this year because Nintendo has told us repeatedly that it is, and it's been rated in so many different regions already, so it seems that the game is pretty much ready to go, and Nintendo's going to start diving into that big marketing campaign for Prime 4. I assume that starts with this next Direct, where we'll probably get a trailer with a release date, and then a few weeks later, we'll get our big Metroid Prime 4 specific Direct. But I think we're about to learn about some big, massive areas that are almost like Halo Infinite. Not saying the game's open world, not saying the game's going to play like Halo Infinite, but from an aesthetic perspective, from a perspective of seeing some vast areas with expanses that are really visually appealing that give you a lot to explore, there could be a similarity there, and that could be a big element to Metroid Prime 4 that has yet to have been shown off, which has me very excited. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.